Welcome back to the podcast. We are now on episode 3 and almost done with the 5-episode series. A little recap of last episode. We talked about the foundations of mental health and how mental health impacts the workplace. In this episode, we will be talking about how managers should be trained to recognize and respond to mental health issues in the workplace. In order to directly impact employees' mental health in a positive way, managers need to be trained in how to recognize and respond to issues within the workplace that can affect one's mental health. But what does that mean? In a simple explanation, managers need to be more aware of what is happening in their operation and need to know how to respond to those issues. There's an issue with managers in restaurants, specifically fast food managers, where they are not trained as well as other types of managers are. Many fast food workers experience poor operational managers or general managers, especially since fast food restaurants are usually chains, so they care more about performance than their employees. As we've talked and read about, putting business over employees is not a good thing and often ends up with poor work performance and decrease in mental health. So how can we train these managers to do better with recognizing the issue? Well, that part is complicated due to the nature of the food industry. Restaurants are supposed to be fast and correct while attending to the customer's needs. This can easily be frustrating because the employee gets rushed, which means they can mess up, and then the customer gets angry, and it causes a lot of stress since it needs to be remade. One thing that needs to happen is that the population needs to be okay with waiting for food. Restaurants are supposed to be convenient when you don't want to cook or want to just eat out. They shouldn't be a rushed product for laziness. So educating the public on how being in such an industry is stressful should be something that should be done. The second thing is that managers, while still keeping the business in mind, also need to recognize that if their workers are stressed, the operation will fall apart. From our research and from personal experience, burnout is a common thing in the food industry and leads to less efficient work and mental health issues. Especially if the employee working is in school, work stress gets stacked on top of school stress, and that person becomes overwhelmed. They can start failing at both. If operations train their managers with this in mind, this can help reduce stress and burnout and improve efficiency. Also, the idea of equity instead of equality is important, as different employees require different needs and should be treated as they need to be treated rather than treating everyone the same. This covers the recognition part of training. But how about responding to issues? This part is easier since you should know the issue as you get to this part. The response the manager gives, though, is the most important part, as they can say either keep an employee or lose an employee. So how should they respond? Well, one thing is they shouldn't be too aggressive or passive aggressive. Having a hint of aggression or being passive aggressive can easily set off an employee, especially if they're already stressed out. A manager should also talk privately with the employee, as doing it around others may make the employee feel worse and can cause more stress. They should also do what we do in our management class when giving constructive criticism. Start out with saying something that they do well and ask, "I wonder if you could," with whatever topic is relevant at the time. Finally, the manager should utilize outside programs that help improve employee mental health. This would have to be discussed by middle and top managers, as they are the ones who have to implement them. So educating the future and current managers on these programs and how they are important will be what we discuss in our next video. Thank you again for tuning in to the podcast. We hope you learned a bit about how managers should be trained in recognizing and responding. Tune in next week and we talk about the programs that actually work when implemented in the workplace.